I'm so happy to see you all here today. Um, let's have a look who we have. Okay, we have Anderson, I think from Brazil. Hello, Anderson. Uh, Layla is also here. John, Bilal, Israeli. Furman from Valencia. Hello, Furman. Um, Step Zero. Nice name. Um, Sylvia's here. Hey, Sylvia. Sylvia is a legendary teacher. Okay. Madeleine is here from Italy. Hello. Lolly, Ilona. Um, yeah, it's fantastic to see you all here. Um, so I thought that to start to warm up, no, to get ready for our class today, I thought that we would do some vocabulary. Okay, so um, are you ready? We're just going to warm up. Okay, so please in the chat type 3 things to take to the beach. What are 3 things that you can take with you to the beach? Of course, the number 1 thing here is beer, of course, in Australia. Um, uh, what else do you take to the beach? That's the question. Just three words, 3 things, okay? We're just warming up with a little bit of vocabulary. So, who will be the first person to tell me some beach vocabulary? Okay, Londerson says sunglasses, sunglasses, always plural. Chair and a bear. Okay, this I love this. This is a great opportunity for us to look at some pronunciation. Okay, so we have these words. Okay, um, which which have different pronunciations. Okay, now this first one is like this. Okay, ear. Okay, so the thing that you drink is like ear, so it's beer. Okay, now the second word. Okay, this is a big animal, okay? A big animal that wants to kill you. That is pronounced like air, okay? Like the air around us, okay? So it's bear, bear. And this one, okay, this one here, you can see that I have, well, more or less I have something right here. This is pronounced like the drink, okay? So this is beard. Now, obviously, it's very important that you pronounce this final letter D, right? Beard. Very important. Because otherwise, imagine if you say, I want a beer. I'm sorry, you want to drink a beer or you want this, right? It's very important, the final consonant. Very important, the final consonant in English, okay? Because remember this, okay? Consider this, okay? If I have walk, the verb walk, and the verb walked, or the verb the verb, I just why is it that whenever I need to think of an example, everything just disappears? Okay. Walked, or for example, like want and wanted. Now, this is the present, this is the past. This is the present, this is the past. The only way, the only indication that you are talking in the past tense is that final d sound. So do not jump over it. Okay, you really have to produce something. Okay. Um, okay, let's see what other vocabulary we have here. We have bucket, shovel, and drink. Again, we have another bear. So someone wants to take a bear to the beach. Maybe like in Russia, you can do that. Not in most countries. um, ice cream, Farouk. That's a good one. Yes, sunscreen, sunscreen or sunblock. Yes, very nice. Okay, let's do one more piece of one more little vocabulary challenge. Okay, this is maybe a little bit more difficult. Okay, tell me three creatures or three animals that come out at night. Okay. One of the correct answers is English tourists in Ibiza. That's a creature that goes out at night. No, but I want real creatures, nocturnal creatures. Yes, that come out at night. Um, and while while I am waiting for some of this vocabulary, it would be fantastic if you started to ask your questions in the chat, please. Because today I am here to answer any questions you have about vocabulary, grammar, usage, anything. Okay. Um, okay. Okay, let's have a look and see about nocturnal animals. Okay, um, we have a bat, perfect, a bat, owl, cat. Technically, cats are not nocturnal; they're crepuscular. If you like technical vocabulary, that's a great word, right? Crepuscular. That means that they like to go out at dawn and dusk. Not really nocturnal. Um, Hello, Giovanni. It's great to see you again. Welcome, welcome. Um, uh, wolves. Ooh, wolves. Okay. To be honest, I don't really know about the lives of wolves. Do they are they nocturnal animals? I have no idea. Um, so somebody said vampires. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everybody who writes using the Cyrillic alphabet, okay? Because I can't read that alphabet and I don't know how to pronounce your names. I apologize. But yes, it's true. It's true that bats, the vampires come out at night. Yes. Um, so we do have a question here, okay? And I'd like to answer this question, or try to answer this question. What? The question is from Mahesh. And the question is, what is a noun? What is a noun? Now, you might think that that's an easy question, but many books have been written to try to answer this question. In fact, I have a book which is called The English Noun, which is like 400 pages about what a noun is, basically. Okay? So, on one hand, it's not an easy question to answer, okay? Because many times we only know if a verb is a noun or an adjective or something else by its position in the sentence. So we can only know if it's a noun by looking at it in relation to other words. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, water. Now, I think we all know what water is. Okay, but is water a noun or a verb? Okay, noun or verb? Let's have a look. Well, it can be a noun and a verb, okay, but it depends on the sentence that I'm using it. So I could say, I am watering the garden with water, okay? So here, this first one here is the verb, and the second one here is the noun. And we only know which one is which by actually looking at the word in context. But probably the most simple way to define a noun is that it refers to something specific. Could be an abstract concept, could be like peace or love, but it's something kind of specific. It's a thing. It's a thing. This is a big question, a metaphysical question. What is a thing? What is a thing? um, okay, let's have a look and see if we have any more questions. Okay, we have a question here from Guglielmina Gumiero. Oh, that makes me happy saying that name. Really? It's like it sounds like just it sounds like poetry. I love it. And the question is, okay, when, oops, let me type in here. When to use just and always. Okay, so the simple answer, is that normally just tells us that something is finished recently. Okay? Just basically talks about recently. So, for example, you can say, I am just married, or I just got married. Okay? Oops. So, in these sentences, it basically means recently, right? Recently got married. And the word always talks about things that are, well, it has a connection with the idea of forever, okay? Or the idea of repetition. For example, you can say, this house will always exist. Okay? And that means it will exist forever. Or in the sense of repetition, right, I could say, he is always complaining. It's like the repetition aspect. But it's this similar idea, okay? That it's happening continuously through time. Okay, happen continuously. There are some other meanings of just. Okay, for example, it is a just decision. And this just is related to the idea of justice, okay, of things that are fair, right? Things that are fair. So hopefully that helps you to understand the difference between just and always, hopefully. And I mean, we could talk about the positions of these words, but let's see first if we have any other any other questions. Okay. Um, let's have a look. Uh, so some other people have given their ideas about what a noun is, right? So Celso Franco says a noun is a word that gives something a meaning. I mean, that's true, right? In fact, often you will see on the internet, you will see lists of things like here's a list of untranslatable words from Japanese, or here's a list of untranslatable words from French, right? And what they really mean is that there's no single word in English to describe this idea. Normally, if you share a culture, okay, if you share a culture, you can translate anything. Like, I don't think that there are any concepts or ideas that we could not translate between Spanish people and Portuguese people, okay? Because the cultures are very similar. But you may have more difficulty translating a concept from, a very small language, which is very isolated, which has a completely different culture, right? But generally, we can translate anything, okay? And it's interesting that if we don't have a word for something, it's almost like it doesn't exist, right? We can't feel it or know it or touch it if it doesn't have a name. So I kind of agree with you, right? A noun is something that gives meaning, right? Okay. Let's see if there's any other questions here. Let's have a. um, uh, Fairy Libre was asking, what does it mean to exist? Okay, that's just too much. I don't know. Maybe this is all a computer simulation. Okay, let's have a look and see because Lolly was asking a question, but I don't think I see her question or his question, so I can't answer it. But Lolly, if you have a question, please ask me in the chat. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, here we have a little question from Vespkrisk about the word ain't. Ooh, okay. And ain't basically is the informal contraction of is not. For example, you can say he is not happy. You can say he ain't happy. Okay? They are they're the same word. Okay? But here's something to think about, right? Really, in language, there are no perfect synonyms. Okay? Words can mean the same thing, but they will always be different in some way. Okay? Maybe one is more frequent. Maybe one is more literary. Maybe one is more informal. Maybe one is only used by Americans. Okay? Like this. So synonyms are never really synonyms. And it's the same idea with is not and ain't. Okay? And in fact, let's put a third option here, okay? Which is, which is the most He isn't happy. Okay. So actually, we could well, actually, okay, let's go for four. Let's go all the way here. Okay, let's go all the way. Um, he's not happy. Oof. Okay, now we have four options to say exactly the same thing. Okay? And each one of those options has just a little difference, a little difference. But first, I want to start by specifically answering your question about ain't. Okay, about ain't. Now, all language, okay, becomes associated with a certain type of person. Okay, this is natural. The language we use is a big part of our identity. It tells people who we are, where we live, how much education we have, and it also tells us about the moment, you know? Like, if I'm with my grandmother, I will use different language than if I am with my boss, okay? That's natural. And so some forms of words like ain't, they get associated with certain types, okay, of people. And so ain't is associated, one, with very informal situations, okay? And also, I think that ain't, and this is a very big generalization, okay? Ain't is associated with things like low socioeconomic status, okay, poor people, okay? It's associated with low education, things like that, okay? So in general, I would say it's kind of negatively associated, right? But this is something that's really important, okay? Really important is that if I grow up in a place which is, poor, and I don't have great access to education, and I don't have all of those things, I'm going to use ain't because all of the other people around me use it. Okay, remember, we talk like who we talk with. Okay, it's a totally natural human thing, totally natural. But it does not mean that that person is stupid, okay? Or it does not mean that that person has no money because they talk like that. It's really important to realize that, okay? Um, so that is the story of ain't. And the other two options, right? I would like to ask you, the audience, about this one. Okay? Let's delete these two. Okay? Let's delete these two. What is the difference in my interpretation or my feeling between he isn't happy and he's not happy? Please in the chat, tell me what is the difference in feeling between those two options. And I don't want you to overthink it. Like, what does your instinct tell you is the difference between these two things, right? Um, he isn't happy. He's not happy. I'm just waiting to see some uh, some uh, some opinions here in the chat. Okay, let's see. Okay, so BM says that the second one is wrong. No, it's not wrong. It's perfectly acceptable. Tolga says that the second one is more powerful. Okay, more powerful in what way? Like, what is more powerful? And so Francesco, Beba, Ellison, um, uh, yes, yes, exactly. So I think that they really have understood this. Okay, in the second sentence, not is more emphasized. No, here it's kind of hidden. It's kind of like, we've cut the middle. But in the second sentence, the not is stronger. So that's an easy way, a tiny little change you can make in your language. It's an easy way uh, to make a negative stronger by doing that, right? Okay, let's have a look and see if we have some other questions here. Um, okay. um, okay. Let's have a look. Um, so Celso has a question here, and the question is, okay. Let me see if I can just copy and paste this. Okay. Okay. Here we go. So the question is, um, why is it easier to talk to someone than record our voice and then sending it? Great question. Great question. Um, Again, there has actually been um, a, a bit of research about this question. And actually, monologues are probably the most difficult thing to do in language, right? Actually. And when you record your voice, you are basically producing a monologue. And I think that's part of the reason that um, things like giving presentations, uh, like being being the center of attention, they're very intimidating. They're very difficult for a lot of people, including native speakers. Okay, this is not normally a language problem; it's a confidence problem. Okay, um, and um, in the academy, in my English academy, Nisa, who's here with us today, one of her specialties is improving people's confidence, and her and I both agree that normally people actually have enough English already. What they need is they need more confidence. Okay, um, so that's what she works on. Um, so yes, monologues are more difficult, but why? I think part of the reason is um, because of the very obvious reason is that when you are in a conversation, you are sharing the work. Okay? It's like you talk, I talk, you talk, I talk. I know that it depends. Okay? Some people monologue in a conversation. I know that. Okay? But generally you are sharing. Okay? You're sharing. And I think as well, in a conversation, you can have pauses. Okay, you can have pauses. I can stop and go, yeah, take a drink. Yeah, true. And then I can look in the distance. Okay. Now, in a monologue, you can't do that. No, you can't really have these these pauses. You're under pressure to produce. No time to think. Produce, and that's why it's really hard. And do you know how to get better at monologues? Produce more monologues. Oh, it's the secret. Oh, Christian has given away the secret to learning English. It's practice. Oh my God. He should sell it. He should sell it as a product. Um, okay, let's have a look. Ooh, okay. So here we have the question from Lolly Lolly. Let me just paste it in here. Okay. It's a question about so far and until now. Um, let me put some example sentences on the board. Like, I have not heard anything so far. Okay. Or, I have not heard anything until now. So, do they have the same meaning? No, they don't. Okay, no, they don't. So far, um, so far tells us in this example sentence, so far tells us that I continue, okay? I'm continuing to hear nothing. So imagine somebody says, Did that guy call you? And I say, so far, no. Which means he has not called me. I'm still waiting. When is he going to call? So far, nothing. Until now is different, okay? Until now means that at this moment, like, something changed. So, for example, with the guy, I could say, yeah, the guy, called me, but he hadn't called me until now. Or you could say something like, I, I imagine somebody says, do you know that the word pachyderm exists in English? And you say, wow, no, I did not know that until now. So it's like in this moment, something changed. Okay. Or maybe another way to think of it is in the first example, the not heard is continuing. And in the second example, the not heard is finished. I hope that was clear. Okay, I hope that was clear. If it's not clear, I can do a beautiful drawing if you want. Okay, you can tell me. You can tell me if you need a beautiful drawing to explain. Um, okay. Okay, here we have another question from Diana. Where are you? Here. Okay, and the question is, Christian, any tips for the verbs plus infinitive and gerund? Ooh. This is a great question. It's a great question. Yes. And again, there has been lots of research about this. Okay, and the answer is actually very logical and kind of easy to understand. Okay, and to understand the difference between infinitive and gerund, we only need to understand two very simple concepts. Okay, so the first thing, where are you? The first thing is that to is basically the future. To is future. The reason for this is that in English, we have this mental idea that the future is in front of us and the past is behind us. Okay? The very simple mental idea. Future, past. Okay? And the preposition to, okay, to is about direction. Okay? Like I go to the shops. I give the book to you. Okay? We have this direction. So to indicates future. Okay, cool, easy. Um, and ing represents something in progress. Okay, and I think we know this because of the present progressive tense or the present continuous tense, right? Like, I am talking to you. I am eating pizza. Okay? It's something in progress. Um, and this very simple concept explains the difference between gerund and infinitive. Okay? And I can give you an example with some very simple verbs. Okay, so let's have a look at I want. Okay, now if you want something, okay, if you want something, that means that right now you are not doing it or having it. Okay, if I want pizza, I don't have pizza now, right? If I want a holiday in Italy, well, that's because now I'm not in Italy. Okay? Um, and that's why with the verb want, we are, I think, always talking about the future. So the verb want will always be to. Okay? I want to eat pizza. Okay? Now, this is a question of logic. It has nothing to do with a list of verbs that you have to memorize. It's logical. And then, okay, um, then we start to understand why some verbs can take both. Okay, like for example, I like to run, or I like running. Now, they seem to express the same idea. I like to run and I like running. But remember, this is about mental pictures. Okay? Language is just mental pictures with words. Okay? And for people with a very high level of English, the mental picture for I like to run and the mental picture for I like running are different. Okay? So I like to run is when I close my eyes and I imagine like tomorrow or um, it's more of a distant thing. Okay, I like to run. Whereas I like running is much more present. Okay, it's much more like running is part of my life. It's a little difference, but an important difference. And that helps us to understand when to use it with different verbs. Um, so I hope that helps. Okay, I hope that helps. Um, okay. Uh, um, okay. So Nitin Mishra has a question about uh, adverbs when they join sentences, um, and conjunctions of time, place, and reason. Okay, I'm not exactly sure about some of the vocabulary you're using. Okay, um, like what exactly do you mean by an adverb to join sentences and conjunctions? If you could give me some examples, I will try and help you. Okay. Okay. Um, okay. Sergio was asking about this one. This is another good question. Okay. Let's bring it up on the board. Okay. Oopsie daisy. Okay. Uh, okay. I didn't do anything weird, did I? Um, did I press some strange buttons? I don't think so. No. Okay. Sorry. Technology. Okay. This is the question. Could you explain a usage of subjunctive cases in English? It's still a hard thing for me to deal with. Okay. The short answer is that the subjunctive does not exist in modern English. Okay? Really, it doesn't. What we have, we have some fossils from the past. Okay? We have dinosaur bones from the past that still exist in modern English. But the subjunctive does not exist. Okay? What we have is we have constructions that mean something similar to the subjunctive. And that's a very, very different thing to actually having a proper like subjunctive in English. Okay. Um, so what am I talking about? Let me give you an example, and this is probably the most famous example. If I were, right? If I were, um, if I were a pizza, I would be, I would, I would not have pineapple. Okay, there we go. So here, um, this is often used as an example of the subjunctive. Very, very often. Okay, it's an example of, oh look, subjunctive in English. Oh, but this is a fossil, and it is literally the only verb that works in this way in English. Okay, for example, if I want to use a different verb, like if I had, do I have a special subjunctive form of had? No. Or if I needed, or if I created, do I have a special subjunctive form of the verb? No. No. But the word where is a fossil from the past. Okay? So, and remember, please remember that you can say if I was a pizza, and in modern English that is perfectly, perfectly acceptable and good. Okay? Subjunctive is dead. But then we have these things called, well, the things that I call subjunctive constructions. Okay? And again, they're like these very specific fossils. Okay, for example, like what's an example? God, I hate thinking of example sentences. Um, uh, I need you. I need him to report. Um, oh man. Okay. Let me let me pull up a browser. Let me find an example of a subjunctive sentence. Okay, in English. I hate I hate examples. Okay, here we go. And what's the first example? If I were. um, okay, here's a great example. Okay, so okay. I asked that they rescue the cats that enter their property. Okay. Um, now, I feel like that could potentially be optional, but anyway, the idea here is that this form of the verb is somehow special. Okay, somehow special, but actually it's a subjunctive construction, and basically all of the subjunctive constructions in English are about orders. You know, I need you to do this, I begged him to do that, I forced him, I asked him, yada yada. Okay, so it's a very, very specific thing. So no, the subjunctive does not exist in English. Okay. um Sorry if I talked about that for a very long time. I I got a bit, excited about that. Um, uh, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Ooh, here's a little preposition question from Gian Gian. Okay, and it's a very angry question. It's all capitals, right? How does the word off work? How can I use off and understand it? Great question. Great question. Um, off off is a great example of a word that has multiple meanings. Okay, the word off, like if you look in the dictionary, off, you'll find lots of different meanings. But all of those meanings come from one central idea, okay, which is that I have a thing, and remember, a thing could be a thing could be a person, an I, an idea, an object, an animal, a thing. Okay, we have a thing, and then basically we lose contact with that thing. Okay? We are losing contact. And that is the fundamental idea of off. And if you can understand that, then you can understand most phrasal verbs. Okay? Most as well. Okay? So, I have tape measure. Okay? And it is on my hand, it's making contact, and then it's off. Okay, we're losing contact. Okay? Now, that is a very literal usage of off. But imagine that I'm on the telephone and I want to finish the telephone call. What can I do? Well, there is a phrasal verb that is used especially in British English, which is to ring off, which makes sense, okay? Ring off, okay? The contact is finished, okay? And then some other phrasal verbs. Let's think about another one. God, I'm so bad at examples. What about to um, to um, 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 to turn off? Okay, when we turn off our television. Okay, what's happening? What's happening? The electricity is losing contact with the machine. Okay, or that's one way to look at it. Or you could say that, when I turn the television off, I am losing contact with this image or device or program. Okay, so off has that very simple idea, and I hope that helps you, John, in a little way. Maybe we can do some more examples later. Maybe you can tell me if that helps you. Okay. Um, okay. Um, Beba was asking about our English retreat in the Canary Islands. Yes. So in May next year, so in about 5 months, me and Matt, who's here in the chat with us today, teacher Matt, and a small group of amazing teachers. We are going to Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands, okay? And we are going to spend 7 days completely immersed in English, in an amazing location. It's a resort, okay? A private eco resort, 100% natural, like 5-star facilities, like a swimming pool, beach, um, everything. And we're going to spend 7 days immersed in English every minute of the day, plus um, plus we're going to have classes, okay, during the day. Lots of classes and excursions and activities and workshops. So if you're interested in coming to the immersion retreat, I hope you do. You can find all the details on the Canguro English website. Okay. Um, I hope to I hope to see you in Gran Canaria. Um, okay. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. What other questions do we have? Here's a good one, and this one I can answer very quickly. Okay, very quickly, because it's a common question. What's the difference between will and going to? Short answer is that will has one syllable, and going to has three syllables. So will is more frequent, and that is proven by analyzing um, corpus, corpuses, corpi, big collections of the English language. If we look at books, spoken language, will is the most common verb in English. Okay. Um, so if in doubt, use will. You can never be wrong. Okay, you can never be wrong. Um, the whole thing about, this whole thing that I've seen in many grammar books, will is for, I think, decisions now, is it? And going to is plans, decisions, I don't know, something like this. It's not true, okay? It's not true because linguists have done the analysis and we know it's not true, okay? Um, the only thing, and this, I'm glad that we're talking about this because you see that? You see that little ing? That's important, okay? That's important. The real difference is that going to is strongly related to something which is in progress now. So imagine I get my keys and my jacket and I'm leaving and my wife says, "Where are you going?" And I say, "I'm going to the shops." Okay? Going to the shops. That's because it's strongly related to what's in progress now. Or if I ask you, you know, um, uh, what are you doing in May next year? Um, thanks for asking. I'm going to the Canary Islands because we're talking about it, right? It's related to now, but I can also use will. In May, I will go to the Canary Islands. Okay, um, different feelings. Okay, different feelings, but same kind of idea. Um, okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look. Okay, Be- Beba wants to know if I can teach some fun slang. Some fun slang. Okay, so slang is basically like informal language. No, um, street talk. Street talk. Um, uh, oh my god! Look, you know that I'm terrible of thinking of examples. Some fun slang. I d- I don't know. Fun slang. Can you think of any fun slang words? Any word? I don't know. Okay, that's true. That's true. Uh, that's a great idea. Let's to finish this class, to finish this hour. Let's do a little bit of Cockney rhyming slang. Okay, it's a very specific type of slang. Okay, um, so now this is a great example of the creativity of language. Okay, so let's start with a word like Scotch. Okay, Scotch. So Scotch is basically a whiskey. Scotch in English, Scotch is another word for whiskey. Okay, it's like a synonym for whiskey. Okay, um, now imagine we want to talk about Scotch, but we want to talk about it in a kind of quiet way. Okay, maybe because we are in Qatar for the World Cup and we don't really want to talk about alcohol. Okay, so we want to secretly talk about Scotch. Well, first, what I do is I think about a word that rhymes with Scotch. Okay, so Scotch rhymes with watch. Okay, Scotch rhymes with watch. But now, now what I want to do is I want to hide this word. I want to hide this word even more. Okay, even more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an adjective. Okay, Scotch is gold watch. Okay, so let's do the progress. So Scotch is watch, and then the next phase is gold watch. And then the final part of Cockney rhyming slang is we eliminate the word that actually rhymes. Okay? So in this final phase, Scotch, okay, or yes, Scotch equals gold. So I can say in a sentence, I need a drink of gold, which basically means I need a drink of Scotch, of gold watch. And there are some really fun dictionaries online to teach you some of this Cockney vocabulary. Some of it is only used, um, you know, by certain types of people. Some of the vocabulary is really, really common and is a big part of British English. Some of them perhaps are used in American English, maybe not so much, right? But but uh, but yeah, it's fun, right? It's fun to play with for the to show the creativity of language. Um, so uh, I hope that that felt like some fun slang. Anyway, um, um, okay, so guys, it's been an hour. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend this time with you today. Thank you so much for all of your really fun questions. Thank you for your patience, and I really hope that I will see you again in class very soon. And remember that if you would like live classes like this every day, then come and join the Kangaroo Academy, and we can do this more often. um, thank you guys. Thank you guys. Sending lots of love. I'll see you all very soon. Bye.